Subscribe to our channel and press the bell icon to never miss an update. Join the only official Telegram channel of RAU'S IAS Study Circle to get relevant material and important updates.
Hello everyone and welcome to Daily News Simplified, your one-stop solution to detailed analysis of current affairs which are published in the Delhi edition of the Hindu newspaper. Articles dated 30th of June 2021 which are put up for today's discussion are listed on your screen, and the timestamping for the same is given in the description box. So let us begin with the first article itself. So the first article for today's discussion is from page 1 of the Delhi edition Hindu newspaper. This article is related to the recent statement which was made by Supreme Court of India regarding the One Nation, One Ration Card scheme and its rollout. Government of India got a earful of scolding from Supreme Court on not ensuring a proper rolling out of this scheme. And Supreme Court has asked government to ensure that no migrant worker goes hungry during this pandemic. As far as context is concerned, the court has set July 31 as a deadline and tells the state to implement One Nation, One Ration Card scheme, because all of the states have not implemented this scheme, and it has also asked the government that it cannot abdicate its duties to feed migrant workers, especially in the period of pandemic. Apart from the context itself, the following information was also given in the article. It estimated that there are 38 crore migrants which are living in India. Well, all of them are not poor as such. Well, they are vulnerable to go hungry due to the pandemic. The center has to supply whatever additional quantity of the food grains a state is demanding, because FSI, Food Corporation of India, who is responsible for the distribution of the food and its procurement, is under the central government. Apart from this, allocation as well as running of the community kitchen in the prominent places to feed the workers should continue despite the pandemic. And apart from this, the Supreme Court has also slammed the Labour Ministry for not completing the work on national database for unorganized worker. This is a very good initiative if come into existence, because this database will provide us a policy making initiative in the near future where we can identify the unorganized sector workers easily and implement all the schemes which are relevant for their upliftment, including your food distribution, including education, health, social security, insurance, pension, and of course the job security. So this database will definitely help to frame many schemes in the near future. And this is the reason why court has slammed the government that why does not want to complete this as soon as possible. Now coming to the importance of this article. We will read this article from the perspective of mains examination, because GS paper 3 and GS paper 2 have relevant topics for your health, for public distribution system, National Food Security Act, hunger, poverty, and of course your malnutrition. And apart from the mains itself, UPSC has asked questions on multiple grounds when it comes to the prelims. So let us see the questions first. In 2016, they have asked question from an international report, Global Hunger Index, and in 2017, they have asked a question from an important scheme of National Nutrition Mission. Now, I will help you out to solve these questions. I will not give you the answers because answers are available in the public platform as well, but I will help you to solve this question. Assume that you know nothing about these two topics. You have never read about hunger report. You have never read about National Nutrition Mission. Then how we can solve this question? Well, here comes the concept of intelligent guessing. The question says Global Hunger Index report. We are not concerned with the organization. We are not concerned with the global, not even the index or the report. They are asking us about the indicators. Indicators of what? Indicators of hunger. Now, among the following given statements or among the following given options, how many of them are actually related to hunger? If you can answer this, you can answer the question. This is the entire hint you require. Now let us come to the other question. Here also, I will use just one word from the question to find out the answer. Now let us see how. I will use this word, national. Now it is National Nutrition Mission, national scheme. It was implemented by the central government. National scheme which is open for everyone. Now the point is everyone. Will Government of India implement a scheme where they will tell everyone to eat eggs, consumption of eggs? Because there are hundreds, thousands, or maybe millions of people in India who are pure vegetarian. How can a government call them to eat eggs? Now, this was the hint, guys. The rest is your choice. Identify the correct answer. Now, apart from the prelims, even in the mains, they have asked topics from health, malnutrition, hunger, and others. So, even in 2019, very recently, they've asked the question for the food distribution. And in fact, in 2013, they've asked question on food security bill, which is NFSA now. Now, let us come to the real core of the discussion. What is one nation, one ration card scheme? Well, as far as date of rollout, number of states, how much percentage, these data are not important for the examination. The real core of the question is the objective. It comes under the National Food Security Act and it allows all beneficiaries. Now, keep these points in your mind carefully, whatever I am circling around. First, all beneficiaries. Second, especially the migrant one. Third, full or partial. Fourth, any fair price shop through existing ration card. Alright, now these are the key pointers of the scheme. First of all, everyone who is under the scheme will be provided the food, especially the migrant workers, because the article is talking about the migrant workers. Either full or partial. Now, some of the websites say that 50% is the allocation. But what if there is only one person in the family, the single woman or a single man, and he or she is a migrant worker? There is no one back there in the house. There is no one in their village or their ancestral place. So now, will they be allowed only 50%? No, they can avail the 100% of their allocation. This is the reason why the government websites are saying full. This entire abstract is taken from a government authentic website. Then comes the existing ration card. So no new ration card will be provided. The add-ons on the existing one will be made up. And of course, if there is more than one person and there are leftover people, or the people who are there back home will give their remaining share of the food. The distribution under this scheme will be made through EPOS or electronic point of sale transactions, which require biometric authentication based on the Aadhaar data. As of March 2021, the scheme is implemented in 17 states. Well, this was your factual information. Now let us come to the mains based information. What are the benefits? Some people or students may say these are the pros and these are the cons. Well, when it comes to the government scheme, we do not have cons. Alright, so never write these cons when it comes to the answer writing. Never say cons of the national scheme or cons of one nation, one ration card scheme. No, there are certain limitations, there are certain shortcomings. It does not have any negative points. Okay, you are going for a government job, not a private job. So never criticize government to such an extent. When it comes to the benefits, of course, first is interoperability. You can easily transfer your ration card from one place to the another. Then comes the universal access. So wherever you are in the country, irrespective of your state or your habitation, you can get the access to the PDS food. Empowering consumer through a choice of market. So if a person is a migrant worker in Maharashtra, he can buy from the markets in Mumbai or from the markets in Pune or from the markets in Nagpur and any other state. It reduced the social discrimination. So even if women are the migrant workers, they now will not be discriminated on the basis of gender. It will help in achieving the SDG 2, of course, to end the hunger in India. It will benefit on the e-governance. So apart from this scheme also, you can use this initiative as an example for your e-governance question. Most of the time student gets stuck while writing the example. This is one of the example which you can use on multiple grounds in your e-governance related question. It will also provide federal synchronization, which means now center and state, if this scheme turn out to be beneficial, center and state will set another example after the GST Council to give a good collaborated effort towards achieving developmental goals. It will help in fighting the malnutrition. Of course, if a person is getting a balanced diet at a reasonable cost, malnutrition will be reduced. And lastly, it will promote ease of migration, so the workers will not require to think more about the place or the destination of their migration as they are lacking the food. So now food is available everywhere, so they can easily migrate everywhere where the job opportunities are far better. Now coming to the limitations. First of all, state governments are reluctant to provide food to migration. Take the case of West Bengal. Lack of regular ration card to the migrants. So existing migrants or the existing people who are getting into the field of migration do not have the regular ration card. Forget about the biometric or the any other ration card. They do not have the basic ration card as of now. Software and the IT infrastructure is still not in place, and this was the reason, this was the excuse which was made by the government in the Supreme Court, that software is not yet developed. Lack of literacy and awareness among the people. Well, this is your universal point you can use in n number of questions in your mains examination. There is a skewed food distribution among the states. So let's say Maharashtra, which has the highest number of labor workers, or Delhi, which has highest number of labor workers, may not get the highest share of food from FCI. Higher share of food will go to Uttar Pradesh and Bihar, where the workers are not actually large in numbers. So this is a skewed distribution of food. Then comes the corruption in the PDS, which is as always there in the country. Then is the issues which are related to the technical glitches, like the biometric non-authentication. And lastly, we have choice of food grain is very limited, like pulses are not provided, like we do not have all the course cereals in the list. Now, with these benefits and the limitation of scheme, let us move to what are the possible way forwards if certain questions are asked from this scheme in the mains examination. Now, these are the possible way forward. You can add n number of way forwards from your side also. I've listed down 6-7 of them. Early rollout of this scheme in all the states. Of course, if you are talking about universal, why not make it universal in all the states? Software and the technical infrastructure should be put in place as early as possible. Centralized grievance redressal system. Of course, if people or the migrants are not getting food on time, despite having the card, they should have a platform to make complaints. Number of food grain choice should be increased. Like they can include the pulses now. Government can distribute the pulses across the nation. Food allowances on non-delivery of ration. So if food is not reaching those people who are staying in the other state, they should be provided equivalent amount of monetary compensation so that they can buy the food from the open market. Biometric authentication should be made glitch-free, faster and more accurate in order to reduce the elimination rate. And lastly, states should be encouraged to participate in this scheme. So all those states which are reluctant to participate in the scheme, because as of now only 17 of them are participatory. So as based on this data, more and more states should be encouraged. How they can be encouraged? Through monetary benefits, through providing them regular supply of food grain from the FCI, and of course helping them in technical and other related aspects in order to capture all the leftover migrant workers. So given these 3 pointers, that is benefit, limitation and the way forward, now we are in a position to answer this question. One Nation One Ration Card is a game changer scheme to fight hunger and malnutrition. Now this is your first part. However, the scheme suffers from the limitation. This is your second part. So the answer should go like this: introduction, first part, second part, and then your conclusion. Is it? Well, no. There is third part, which is your way forward. Okay, so because once you are listing down the limitation, it is obvious that you should also give the way forward. So there are 5 parts in this question and you should justify them equally. When it comes to the introduction, of course, you can define the scheme itself. When it comes to the conclusion, you should also always stand by the government initiative and say that whatever limitations are there, we should look into those limitations in the time-bound manner and roll out the scheme in a universal manner as early as possible. Well, now before moving to the other article for the day, I would like to give you some brief about the migration in India. Well, all these data are related to the 2011 census, which is the most authentic data source. 2021 census has not been conducted by now, so this is the best source we have right now. As far as 2011, India had 45.6 crore migrants, which was 38% of the population. However, this was less in 2001 when it was 31.5 crore and 31% of the population. It means the rate of migration has increased both in absolute as well as in the relative terms. Surprisingly, in 2011, 99% of the total migration was internal and only 1% was external, or the only 1% of these 45.6 crore people were actually going outside the country. The classification of migration is done in four: rural to rural, rural to urban, urban to rural, and urban to urban. The least number of people are in this category, urban to rural, and the highest number of category are from rural to rural migration, which is about 54% of the total migration in the country. And the least one is, of course, as I told you, urban to rural migration, which is only 7% of the total. Now, these are the two important figures which is given in the census as well as the economic survey of India. As you can see from this, among male members, the highest reasons are the other reasons, and the second highest is the movement with the family. When it comes to the female, the highest reason, of course, being your marriage, and the second highest is equal to family and the other reason. Surprisingly, when it comes to work, male members are at 21% while female members are only 2%. And among education, the females are only 1%. Now, this is one of the reasons why we have less number of women when it comes to IITs and IIMs in the country. Next comes the interstate migration in the country. So highest outbound migration is coming from Bihar and the Uttar Pradesh, and highest inbound migration is in Maharashtra and Delhi, followed by your Gujarat and Haryana. With this, now we move to the next article for the day. Well, this article was given on page 12, that is the business page of Delhi edition Hindu newspaper. This article actually talks about the OPEC risk forcing India to tap Iran for oil if prices stay high. The Oil and Petroleum Minister of India has asked the OPEC members ahead of their meeting and tried to persuade them to moderate the surging oil prices and warned that high prices would push the country to tap alternative import sources such as Iran. As of now, India is nowhere close to what it was importing as far as oil is concerned from Iran. Now, when it comes to the article, what is important as such? The first thing is, of course, India's oil imports. Second, what are OPEC nations? I believe most of you already know that. And next, what are strategic reserves? Well, this is the possible data which I have provided you. This is from the Ministry of Petroleum and Oil. So they have a dedicated cell for statistics and they have provided this data on the public platform. I've used this data from the month of April because this is the latest one which is provided. I've not included the annual data because that will not give us a clear-cut picture of the current scenario. So when it comes to the imports, the imports from the crude oil, of course, is the highest one. You can see 18,256 million metric tons. All right. Second, of course, being your LPG. Then comes your pet cokes, followed by your fuel oil and the respective other things. However, when it comes to the exporting of petroleum and related products, you will see that there is no crude oil. We do not export crude oil. Okay, we do not have that much of luxury or that much of surplus in order to export that. However, the best thing which we export to the other country is your naphtha, followed by your fuel oil and of course your LPG, including the other products. But as you can see that we import bitumen by 142 MMT, but when it comes to export, there is zero. When it comes to lubricating oils, we have 193 MMT, and when it comes to export, it is almost nil. So this table will definitely give you an idea that what actually we are importing in the oil and what we are exporting when it comes to oil and related products. Now let us see what are OPEC or what are the OPEC nation. OPEC is the oil producing and exporting countries. Well, what it is? It is a permanent intergovernmental organization of 13 oil exporting developing nations that coordinate and unifies the petroleum policy of its member countries. Well, the number of members or the members itself, well, these two are factual information or very high factual information, which UPSC rarely asks. All right. So here it is given 13 nations. However, this is 14 in some of the websites. But the OPEC website says it is 13. And when OPEC says it is 13, it will remain 13. Nowhere you should write it to be 14. The headquarters of the organization is at Vienna, which also houses the secretariat. However, Vienna, that is Austria, is not a member. This is a surprising thing. It was a permanent intergovernment organization which was created after the Baghdad conference on September 10 to 14, 1960. So it's a very old organization. It is almost 60 years now. And it was formed, or the founding members were Iran, Iraq, Kuwait, Saudi Arabia, and Venezuela. Well, Venezuela is in news for various reasons, for political crisis, hyperinflation, and poverty rates. When it comes to the objective of the organization, well, objective is something which UPSC always targets. So there are three objectives. First of all, coordinate and unify petroleum policies. So they have unified policies on petroleum among the member nation to secure fair and stable prices. This is their prime objective, that prices whatever they are charging to the other nations across the globe should be stable and secure for their own needs. It should have an efficient economic and regular supply of petroleum. So you will never see that OPEC have shut down their factories or they have shut down their refineries. They may reduce the supply, but they will never stop it. They will continue to supply on a regular basis. Then we have a fair return on capital to those investing in the industry. It means if, let's say, India wants to invest in Venezuela, then India should get a fair return on whatever FDI it is making in Venezuela. So these three are the basic objective of OPEC that you should focus upon. Now, the third thing which I was mentioning in the article is your strategic reserve of oil. What they are, why we call them strategic, and why do we have reserves? Strategic here means that we can use these reserves when it comes to the emergency use or emergency call. Let's say 2 months, 3 months down the line, the OPEC nation says that we will reduce our production by 90%. That means they will only produce 10% of what they were producing 3 or 4 months earlier. In that case, the prices will go definitely very high. So every nation should have some kind of reserves which they can use in order to sustain for a smaller period of time in which they can negotiate with the OPEC nations to raise their production. India, like many other countries, have developed such kind of reserves. In India, Indian Strategic Petroleum Reserve Limited, this is important in organization, it is a special purpose vehicle of Government of India, not of any state. So it is a special purpose vehicle SPV of Government of India which has established Strategic Petroleum Reserves SPR at 3 different places amounting to 5.33 million metric tons or MMT. Now imagine this. The amount which we are importing is 18,256 MMT and the amount which we are keeping as reserve is just 5.33. Imagine the 5 over 18,000. What is the percentage that we are actually storing? It is extremely low. These reserves are located in 3 places: Vishakhapatnam, Mangaluru and Padur. When it comes to the use, these 5.33 million can only last for 9.5 days. So even if there is no supply of oil from outside, India can run its vehicles or its transportation for 9.5 days only. The crude oil that we store in these reserves are in the underground rock caverns and they are located on the east and the west coast. As you can see, Vishakhapatnam is on the eastern, Mangaluru on the western. So they are located in such a manner because from these sites we can have imports of oil easily, because oil imports in India is from the shipping manner or the shipping medium only. The underground rock caverns are considered as the safest means of storing the hydrocarbons. So they do not have any sort of large storage or large silos where they store the oil. They store it in the underground areas. From these caverns, the oil is supplied to the Indian refineries either through the pipeline or through the combination of pipeline or the coastal movement. So this is how entire thing is considered. Government of India is also planning to establish 3 other reserve areas in order to raise its capacity for up to 30 days of reserves. With this, now I'll take you to the important question which is attached to this article. Read that question carefully and answer in the comment box. Now, the next article in the discussion lineup is from the page 08 of the Hindu newspaper, and this article talks more on the mains perspective rather than the prelims. The article titled as Indian Value Religious Freedom is based on a survey which was conducted by Pew Research Center, a non-profit organization based in Washington DC. This survey actually targets the religious attitudes in India. Well, as far as name of the organization or the survey conducting organization is concerned, it is not at all important. But what is more important for this examination is the result of the survey. Well, result of the survey is already there in front of you, but we will read this topic from the perspective of General Studies Paper 1, Society, with special focus on communalism. Well, Indian society is one area where we have very limited sources to study. However, given that situation, we have to attempt at least 6 to 7 questions in the mains examination. So if such kind of surveys are published in the newspaper, they can get us a first-hand information on the different aspect of Indian society. So apart from General Studies Paper 1, it can also be used for your General Studies Paper 2 when it comes to freedom of religion. It is also relevant for your General Studies Paper 4, Ethics or Religious Ethics, and of course your essay paper. So you can use the entire data set or the arguments which we are going to discuss in this article in all these 4 areas of the syllabus. So what this survey says? The survey says that there are certain percentage of the adult population in India which consider the religious freedom under these 3 headings through different angles. The first question which they asked was that whether the adult members in the society are free to practice their religion. So on this question, the highest share was from the Hindus and the lowest one was from the Jain community. The next one was respecting the all religious is very important of being truly Indian. Well, of course, here also the Hindus were at the highest position and the lowest one among the Muslims and the Christians. And the last one, respecting others' religious is a very important part of their religious identity. On this question, actually the highest share goes to Buddhist. So what are the key notes which we learn from this survey? Does that mean that there are certain communities in India which does not believe in the nationalism, which does not believe in the relationship of a nationalism and the religious activities? Or there are communities in the country which says, there are many people in the country who says that religious and nationalism are different things. So these kind of arguments are very, very good for your writing answers in the mains examinations, especially the questions on Indian society. Now let us see what this survey has actually found out. So what are the key findings of this survey? The first one is religious freedom. Most Indians, cutting across religion, feel that they enjoy religious freedom. People in all the 6 major religious groups have to say that they are very, very free to practice their faith and religious practices. So even Article 25 to 28 of Indian Constitution also provide the freedom on religion. So that is not only limited to the Indian Constitution, that is also part of the society, and society has adopted that in the real manner. The second key finding is related to the religious tolerance. Now here people say that they believe that respecting all religions is not only important part of their religion, that is their own religion, but also very important for being a true Indian. This is a good sign. This actually shows that the people in the country are actually following the true means of secularism in the country. And secularism in India, you all know, means the equal respect and dignity to all the religion. Not only from the perspective of the government or the establishment, but also from the perspective of the other people who are living in the society. But now comes the bouncer. The finding also tells us something which is hidden in the society and which we need to understand in more length and breadth. What is that? The issues which are found in the survey are as follows. The first one being the religious segregation. Now what does that mean? Well, Indians' commitment to tolerance is also accompanied by strong preference for keeping religious communities segregated. Well, most of them has already said that they do not have much in common with members of the other religious groups. Now, this is a surprise. Because somewhere down the line, as an Indian, we have been following the common identities. We are the common citizens of the country. So if one community or the one religious people are not following or not considering the other people of the other religion as following the same identity, this actually leads to the religious segregation of the society. The second issue is, of course, your national identity, which is based on religion. Now, here it means that nearly two-thirds of the majority population of Hindu says that it is important to be Hindu to be truly Indian. And the same is true with the other religion as well. There also, majority of the members are feeling that national identity should be related to the religious denomination, which is a wrong thing. This should not happen anywhere in the country. The another issue found in the report is that the dietary laws are central to India's religious community. It means that people from X religion are eating a certain dietary habits also forms identity or religious identity. And if they are not following that dietary habits or dietary laws, it means they do not follow their basic religious sentiments or sanctity. Apart from that, the last issue which was mentioned in the article is the religion based national identity and customary dietary laws are less prevalent in South India, which is a music to our ears. It means that the two issues which we have already discussed about, this one and this one, is not very much prevalent in South India, despite having a very high diversity as far as religion is concerned. So, because of these prevalent issues in the society, as per the report, what we are going through is the following consequences. Now, what are these consequences? The first one being, of course, the rise of communalism. So, take the example of diet or what do we eat. So, if a person is eating a particular food, he or she may be considered as forward or backward in the society. And this actually leads to the segregation of the society on the basis of community and ultimately causes communalism. The second one being, of course, your ethno-nationalism. Here, linking religion with the national identity result in ethnocentric nationalism. Indian nationalism is not based on common religion or language or ethnicity. This kind of ethnic nationalism may lead to development of tendencies which may look like anti-globalization, xenophobia, discrimination of minority religions or any other. Next being your infringement of individual rights. Let's talk about the cause of marriages, or maybe the food we like, or the attire we go through. Such kind of religious segregation in the Indian society will definitely lead to the infringement of individual rights, not only limited to the food, marriages, attires, and etc., but also it may lead to the infringement of right to speech, right to freedom, and in fact, right to life. And the last consequences being your fundamentalism or rise of fundamentalism. These attitudes may result in fundamentalism or religious revivalism. Well, a person who is a fundamentalist believes that all the other aspects of life, that is social, political, or cultural, it may also include the economic, that should be governed by the religious doctrine. So let's take the case of fatwas which are released by religious denominations, or the weird order which are issued by the Khap Panchayat against the females in the society. Well, do not take communalism only related to the religion. Religion is one of the aspects of communalism. Communalism is directly related to a community which is associated with a specific identity. So if people who are eating vegetarian food can be a part of a community, and if they are against the people who are eating the non-veg, can also cause communalism. However, in a nation like India, where religious diversity is so wide, religion takes place the highest cause of communalism in India. With this, now I'll take you to the next article for the day. This article was published on the page 12 of Delhi edition of the Hindu newspaper, and this article actually talks about the Sri Lankan government which is trying to get at least 1 billion of currency swap deal with India to meet its debt obligations. Well, as far as the importance of this article is concerned, it is important for your general studies paper 3, where we have issues related to trade and commerce. In prelims examination, it is important for your economic current affairs and concepts. However, this article we will only take as a matter of reference because anything which is related to currency swap dealing has already been covered on 7th of February 2021. So you can go through this article which was discussed on this day where we have discussed currency swap agreements in much more detail. With this, now we move to the last part of our today's discussion, that is question of the day.